Hi everyone, welcome back to Jane's Stories of Life. I need to give you a little background today before I get into the real story that I want to tell you, and that is about June. You will hear me mention June's name several times, I'm sure, in my various stories. My mom was a social worker in Cleveland at the county children's welfare department. And as such, she worked with children who were in foster care. One day, one of her coworkers said to her that there was a young woman in her caseload, a 15-year-old girl, who was going to be institutionalized because of her suicide attempts. This was in the year 1946. My mom and dad decided that they would take June into our household. As it turns out, my mom had worked with some of June's siblings in foster care and knew a little bit about the family and the situation. So I was 4 years old. June was 15 when she came to live with us. 2 years later, when my father died, my mom decided to move back to Iowa to be closer to her family. And at the time, she had to go through the court to get permission for June to move to Iowa with us. Now, let me go ahead with what today's Jane's story of life. I used to love doing things in the kitchen, experimenting, cooking, and so forth. And June loved the role of a big sister, kind of helping the little sister do these things. June couldn't cook, but I loved to try things. So one day I decided that I was going to make a banana cream pie. Now back then, you didn't have boxes of pudding mix. You had to use milk, cornstarch, sugar, flavoring, and cook the pudding to make the pie, and make the pie for the whole pie crust, the whole 9 yards. Everything was from scratch. So we did the pudding, we did the pie crust, and when it was time to do the banana cream filling, I thought it looked kind of plain. And I mentioned earlier, my mom always had bottles of food coloring, the little tiny plastic bottles of food coloring, because when I was younger, I could choose a couple of drops of coloring in my bath water every night. That was one thing. Or if we were making frosting and cupcakes, we needed coloring for that. So I thought it would be nice to have green filling for this banana cream pie, which is what we used. Let me just turn your imagination wild a little bit. And if you would, picture a banana cream pie with sliced bananas in this bright green pudding concoction. And you know what happens with fruit when it's exposed to air? Well, bananas kind of changed colors along the way in the course of the next day or two while we were, enjoying this pie. And I know it must have been ugly, but guess what? My mom and June and I ate that pie like it was a gourmet dessert. And I often think that's one of my favorite memories of my green banana cream pie. And you know these days, I love to cruise. And on Carnival, on sea days, they have a brunch. Every brunch has a dessert menu, and there's always a banana cream pie offered at part of that dessert menu. And guess what? I get it every single time. Oh, you know what? It's plain. They have no coloring to it. It's just a plain old banana cream pie. But anyway, one of my memories of cooking as a young child. I was 6 when we moved, when my dad died, so I was 7 when we moved to Iowa, and that's when that occurred, during that year we were there, one of those years that we lived in Des Moines, Iowa. So, you know what I say? Cherish your memories and pass them on. Enjoy your day. Oh, as a kind of a P.S., back then, we also had to color our margarine because the dairy farmers of America did not like margarine. They wanted everybody to use butter. So when you bought margarine, it was white with a little capsule of yellow. And you had to squeeze the yellow coloring to make your margarine look like butter. Just a little tidbit. 1940s were a whole different ball of wax. Cherish your memories and pass them on.